Hey guys, how are we doing? So we're back on another Supereyepatchwolf video, and this is quite special because I have literally, as the time of me recording this, just finished the last episode of Hunter x Hunter. Amazing, absolutely amazing anime. And then as soon as I seen that he's got a why you should watch Hunter x Hunter, I thought yes, let's do this. I'll just back him up the whole way in this video because my god, everyone should see this anime. It's so good, and this video is 49 minutes long. So I prepared, I've got 2 bottles of water and a bag of Maltesers. So get a snack, get a drink. We're going to enjoy this video together. This is why you should watch, and you really should, why you should watch Hunter x Hunter. I'm so excited for this. This is like, oh, such a good anime. So good. So good. Hopefully coming back.
Well made, but average. This is my initial impression after viewing the first 3 episodes of the 2011 anime Hunter x Hunter.
Right.
Based on a manga the same name written by Yoshiro Tagashi. I enjoyed the high production values and charming characters, but beyond that it seemed like the same old cookie-cutter shonen formula I'd seen 100 times before.
Yep.
So how did my opinion of this show shift from well-made but average to holy shit, this is one of the greatest things I have ever fucking seen?
Yes.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about today.
Alright.
So let's begin my video that I like to call Why You Should Watch Hunter x Hunter.
Whoa.
Some minor warnings here. For this review I'm going to be specifically referring to the 2011 anime as opposed to the manga or the 1999 anime adaptation.
Okay.
I will be avoiding major spoilers, but I am going to be discussing the world and characters at length, so minor spoilers may occur. So, first off, my initial impression of Hunter x Hunter was that of a lot of people. It seemed fine, but average, typical for this kind of shonen anime. The characters were fun, but seemed like nothing new or especially interesting. Gon was an anime boy who tries hard, Killua was a nice Vegeta, Dario was Lupin III for some reason, and Kurapika is a non-threatening boy for people who like non-threatening boys. On top of that, the plot setup felt standard, and I felt
want to be the best
sure I
hunter.
knew where the story was going. And that's where I, like a lot of people, were dead fucking wrong.
Yes. Oh my god.
The main thing to keep in mind here is
Merlin.
Hunter x Hunter is not a shonen anime. Well, not strictly at least. More accurately, it's a deconstructionist shonen anime. What do I mean by this? Well, let me explain. When a medium or genre is around for long enough, it goes through a period of deconstruction.
Right.
Where artists take the established elements or building blocks of a genre or medium and then actively work backwards, essentially restructuring how that genre or medium works.
Okay.
Typically to make a commentary on said medium or for the purpose of pushing the boundaries of what said medium can achieve.
Wow, absolutely.
Once an art has been around for long enough, it builds up a particular rule set. And after a certain period of stagnation, people will actively try and tear that rule set apart.
Oh, yeah, make it
as
different.
opposed to building on it further, and thus deconstruction occurs. To bring things back into context a little, let's take a look at 2 of the most famous examples of deconstructionism in anime.
Okay.
Neon Genesis Evangelion and Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. Both these shows exist directly as statements formed from what came before them. Evangelion exists because Gundam was a thing. Madoka exists because shows like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura happened.
What a show.
But rather than expanding on the source materials ever so slightly like other shows of the same genre,
Watched that when I was a kid.
Evangelion and Madoka are direct responses, even criticisms to their forebearers. In Evangelion's case, it made piloting giant robots a dark and traumatic affair, and something to be feared, as well as making the protagonist selfish and reluctant. And had the characters break down over the course of the season rather than becoming stronger and gaining conviction. In Madoka's case, on the other hand, it swaps out practically all the joyous conventions of the magical girl genre and focuses on the sacrifice the girls must make in order to gain their magical powers, and unbalances it to an absurd degree, trapping its characters in a world of terror and nihilism. Both these shows were extremely important in revitalizing their respective genres, bringing new ideas and perspectives to tired and tested formulas. These opened their genres up for further deconstruction also, and I would argue that a show like Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann could be seen as a response to Evangelion in the same way Eva was a response to Gundam and its ilk.
I can think of that.
Shows like these push the medium forward and are important to anime staying interesting and relevant, and to keep it from becoming a vehicle with which just to sell merchandise, which is definitely a trend I think I would like to see less of. So how does Hunter x Hunter qualify as deconstructionist? Well, let's start by taking a look at one of the most central concepts of any anime, that of the protagonist.
The protagonist,
Arguably, one of the most telling aspects of any anime will be the protagonist. What I mean by telling here is the relationship the show tries to create between viewer and protagonist will often reveal the show's true intentions. What I mean by true intentions is how is the protagonist trying to make the viewer feel. For example, is it a character piece like Madoka Magica, an exploration in psychology like Psycho-Pass, or a power fantasy like Dragon Ball Z? The power fantasy is by far the most dominant show within the shonen
definitely.
anime. Power fantasies are so prevalent that I would say that 95% of shonen anime falls under this umbrella.
Yeah.
And with good reason. Power fantasies are fun, enjoyable escapism, and let us feel in control of supernatural situations entirely outside the bounds of our own daily lives. But when you look at the protagonists of the big shonen power fantasies, you start to see a pattern. Goku, Luffy, Naruto, Natsu, they all have one thing in common. They all have some unique trait that gives them an unfair advantage over their enemies.
The enemy, yeah.
Goku was born a powerful Saiyan, Luffy ate the Gum Gum fruit, Naruto has the Fox Chakra, Natsuo was raised by a dragon, the list goes on. The reason for this is obvious. The writers want the characters to be kicking ass from episode 1, and so essentially you can see how these characters exist to be vessels of power for the viewer. By being the toughest guy in the room, they allow us to feel like the toughest guys in the room. And again, like, no judgment, this is
toughest guy in the room.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying that. However, the problem here is when every shonen anime has this kind of Superman-in-waiting protagonist. You only have to watch a few shows before characters and plots start to feel tired and redundant.
Same, yeah.
And that brings us to Gon, the energetic and exuberant hero of Hunter x Hunter. But before we dive into what Gon is, let's take a look at a few things Gon isn't. He is not a superpowered being from an alien race.
Nope.
He is not the possessor of any kind of innate magic. He
Oh
is
no,
not
my
the
Maltesers.
ancestor of any kind of great deity.
Nope.
He is not the chosen one, nor the subject of any kind of great prophecy. What I'm getting at here is that from the outset of Hunter x Hunter, Gon is just Gon.
Yeah, he's just a normal person.
Kid.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, he's an extremely resourceful regular kid with strength and speed and stamina that definitely go beyond the average human being, but he's practically dwarfed in power by nearly every character he encounters,
Yeah, he is,
especially within the first couple of episodes. More telling than this is Gon's win-loss rate over the course of the show. Normally, a shonen protagonist will win around 90 to 95%
like nearly all the fights,
of their battles. You don't make your main character lose very often if you want your viewer to feel powerful, but I'd say at best, Gon's maybe victorious in 50, maybe 55% of his
About that,
fights.
yeah, he has quite a lot of losses.
Why does this matter? Well, for one thing, it frees the character of Gon from being any kind of archetypical hero. He doesn't need to be, and practically never is, the most powerful character on screen.
No.
This in turn just lets Gon be Gon. He's not a superhero to save the world. He's not the boy foretold of in legend. He's
just
not going to bring
journey.
the land to a new era of peace. But what he is just about one of the most likable little fuckers you're ever likely to meet.
Yep, he's so
He
cool.
loves making friends, he loves adventure, he meets all his problems head on with an upbeat attitude. But also he's vulnerable. There's moments when he's afraid and doubts himself.
Oh yeah.
He never falls into the angst-ridden escapades of Naruto or Ichigo. He's often forced to deal with the fact that he's nowhere near powerful enough to solve situations with brute force alone. But through this, we see him developing his own solutions and his own unique style of problem solving when dealing with conflict.
Because he's a kid, man. It's fine.
Gon is a wellspring of positivity, and in a way, he's nearly a representation of what's good about people. He's trusting and he's kind, and he's always willing to give someone a chance. Which makes it so hard to watch when things don't go his way, which they often don't.
Yeah,
what I'm getting at here is that Gon does not exist as a power fantasy for the viewer to inhabit. He doesn't need to win every fight because that's not what the show's about. It's not trying to make you feel the way 90% of other shonen animes do. It is, in fact, trying to convey to you something entirely different. It's a story about characters, about friendship and adventure, but also about loss and how harsh the world can be, and how even the best of us have our breaking points. Gon's great because in a lot of ways, he's not the hero, and there's moments in the show when he does decidedly unhero-like things.
Oh yeah.
Even to a point where I began to question who I should be rooting for here. This is partly due for reasons I've already outlined, and partly due to the unique and creative way the show handles its villains. Which, my friends, brings us handily to our next section, the villains of Hunter x Hunter.
They're brilliant. It's so good.
Villains in shonen anime are an unusual thing. While there are many examples of great characters with amazing character arcs, there are a lot more of the cartoonish supervillain variety, with underdeveloped motives, lackluster personalities,
I want to destroy the world.
tragic backstories. I've thought a lot about why so many cookie-cutter villains exist within shonen anime, and I think
Phantom
I might
Troop
have
cool.
a reason. As far back as Fist of the North Star, shonen anime essentially serves as a power fantasy, usually aimed at young boys. Once a show commits to becoming a power fantasy, it usually has to greatly limit the way its villains act.
Yeah.
These villains must essentially be a goal for our heroes to overcome, and not characters onto themselves. It wouldn't make sense if we got a look into Frieza's day-to-day life. He's there essentially to be a horrible asshole and eventually have Goku blow the living shit out of him with a Kamehameha wave. He's there as a seemingly insurmountable threat to be overcome by our heroes, and then when they do, we feel elated as we feel like we have blown the shit out of the evil space Nazi. This is the basics of how villains in power fantasies work. Now in isolation, this is fine. But when repeated over the course of several dozen different anime, shit gets dull, and it gets dull fast. Hunter x Hunter, on the other hand, doesn't need to cast its villains in this role. They're not there for Gon to beat, they're just characters in the world with ulterior and conflicting motives to our heroes.
They've all got
and they're
different
still
goals.
Fascinating characters in their own right.
So good.
Seriously, these are some of the most well-realized villains in any show I've ever seen. They feel like they have their own lives and agendas, and none fall into the tired cliche of obsessing over the main character's defeat. Mostly because they're too busy going about their own shit to ever care about Gon and his stupid little adventures. It's not uncommon for a new villain to be introduced into the show, have zero interaction with Gon over the entire course of their stay, and then vanish. And when they do, they tend to form unique and sometimes disturbing relationships with him. Typically, if villains are on screen in an anime, then chances are they'll be talking about one of two things. The progression of their evil plan, or how the next time they meet the hero, they're going to defeat him once and for all. Writing like this not only flattens out villains, but turns them from characters into contrived plot devices. They only talk about their evil plans so our hero can eventually stop them, and they only obsess over our hero to make the hero seem more powerful and cool than the show has already done. In essence, writing like this is only for the purposes of making our hero's eventual victory all the more impressive, which leads right back to, yes, you guessed it, power fantasy territory. But because Hunter x Hunter is essentially not a power fantasy, the villains are freed. They can do whatever the hell they want, and trust me, it's fucking awesome. For example, check out this scene between two of my favourites, Hisoka and Machi. Hisoka has called Machi to his hotel room for the purpose of healing his wounds he sustained during a previous episode. At this point, about all we know of Hisoka is that he's insane, he loves killing, and that he likes to toy with people. Yet, check him out here. He playfully flirts with Machi, who remains entirely disinterested. Up until now, Hisoka has seen a maniacal supervillain. And the fact that he'd be interested in something as casual as dating is not a subtlety many anime villains are afforded. Unfortunately, Machi says no to his date, so we never get to see them go on a date. Likewise, Togashi isn't afraid to show the various interpersonal relationships between villains.
Yeah, whenever they meet up, it's so
each
cool.
Other, some detest each other, some are longtime friends, others just seem to be waiting for the right time to kill each other. It creates a complex web of relationships that honestly kept me guessing nearly the entire time throughout the show. We know Hisoka and Illumi are friends, but we also know that Hisoka is part of an enemy faction of thieves
the Phantom
Illumi and his family have beef with. Maybe nothing comes of this, and maybe all hell breaks loose. My point is, the potential is there, and it keeps you guessing. One of my least favourite tropes in shonen anime is the lack of camaraderie between groups of villains. The "he died because he was weak" trope, I like to call it. You can see it in this scene from Yu Yu Hakusho, in which the tiger villain Byakuyo is killed by his ally Seiryu, simply for losing the previous fight with our
it's like, you're too weak, I don't need you. Like Vegeta with Nappa at the start of Dragon Ball Z.
That is common among the anime villains. They don't have friends, and they don't want any. They're loners to be picked off by our heroes one by one. Shonen writers tend to write villains like this, cold and frustrated, for the pure purpose of setting them apart from our heroes. And this is where I'd like to bring up one of the fucking coolest and most badass aspects of Hunter x Hunter, the Phantom Troop.
The Phantom Troop is so cool.
The Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z, or the enemy guilds in Fairy Tail, Phantom Troop are the villainous faction of Hunter x Hunter, and holy hell are they fantastic. It's obvious from when they first come on screen that something is very different here. For starts, the Phantom Troop are fucking psyched to be members of the Phantom.
Yeah, they're like, yes, so. We're part of the Spider.
A highly skilled group of criminals. Entry into the Phantom Troop means you've essentially made it as someone who exists outside the law. This is important as generally with enemy factions in this type of show, the group will sit around somberly lamenting the existence of our heroes, and what the best way to dispose of them is. The Phantom Troop, on the other hand, sit around shotgunning beers and playing cards. There's a real camaraderie between them, and so there should be. They share a similar philosophy. And you can tell this through their actions and dialogue. That
although he did need to drink a lot of beer to get rid of those.
And it wasn't long before I actually started rooting for these guys. It's infectious to tear through life, going up against other organizations and the law alike, but with real camaraderie and pride in what they do. The scene that really takes the cake here for me is when the team learns that one of their own has been taken out by an enemy faction. They don't just laugh it off or take it lightly. It's emotionally devastated and
yeah, like, we need to save him.
Each member shows pain and grief due to the loss of what is essentially a member of their family. It's beautiful, and
they have flashbacks as well, which add to it.
It's rarely afforded to villains in any medium. It further helps highlight that these guys are people, and not just evil for the sake of evil. They just choose to live a different kind of life. They choose to live outside the law, and it doesn't invalidate them as characters or mean that they live without emotion. And it doesn't stop at the Phantom Troop. I'd be remorse if I didn't mention one of my favourite characters in the show, that of the Chimera Ant, Ramrot.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, Ramrot is a very minor villain who appears much later in the show during the Chimera Ant arc. He's loud, brutal, and violent. At first glance, he seems as one-dimensional as possible. I mean, he's an evil fucking flying rabbit.
Yeah.
Not exactly a character who begs a lot of exposition or development. But after coming in contact with Gon, his Nen is awakened.
Oh, yeah.
Nen is Hunter x Hunter's version of anime magic, but more on that later.
And then he's like, ooh.
The idea begins to dawn on him that with this new power, he might have a chance to overthrow the Chimera Ant monarchy and reign as the new king. So, let's stop and examine this for a second. I can't emphasize enough the point that this character is a bit player, a tiny part of a force that makes up a much bigger Chimera Ant army, and yet here he is developing his own motives and place in the world. But like every character in Hunter x Hunter, Ramrot soon learns that he is a small part of a very large world.
Yep.
As we see in this scene, which also serves as the introduction of one of the Chimera Ant's royal guards, Neferpitou. The moment Ramrot lays eyes on her, the oceanic difference in their power becomes obvious, and Ramrot is forced to acknowledge that he will never be, nor never could have been, the king. This scene serves two functions. One, to highlight Pito's immense threat level, and two, as a painful piece of character development that will most likely resonate pretty heavily with anyone who has ever compared themselves negatively to others. Ramrot is essentially forced to give up his dreams and accept his place at Neferpito's heels.
A short and foolish dream.
Taking a step back again, we can see that despite being a very minor part of the show, Ramrot has a perfectly developed character arc. And let's face it, this one character probably has more character development than the entire cast of Bleach. There's way more to dig into here. Upajin and Muramasa's endearing friendship, Pagnoda's intense loyalty to her friends, the fact that Chitu is actually a fucking moron. There's nearly an endless examples of evil on-screen actions that elevate
when he gets his ability,
it's like,
oh come on, we do it.
More. We feel like they are not minor characters, they're fully fleshed out. It just so happens that the camera only lingers on them for so long, giving us a smaller look into their worlds, but it never feels like their worlds don't exist. Hunter x Hunter's willingness to invest in its villains is one of the major aspects that sets it apart from any other shonen series. Because the villains are allowed to exist in a spectrum that does not involve our heroes, they're free to become their own characters, and with their own lives and goals. This makes Hunter x Hunter a show not about heroes and villains, but about people. Lots and lots of different people. Each struggling to find their own place in the world and to find their own reasons for being there. When a death occurs on either side, there's a real tangible feeling of loss, and oftentimes the line between hero and villain becomes impossible to distinguish. And in doing this, Hunter x Hunter manages to offset what is essentially the major core principle of shonen anime. The belief that bad guys are bad and good guys exist to punish them. No one within the series is 100% evil, and certainly no one is 100% good. It's just a story about people who simply view the world very differently, and all the chaos and pain that ensues because of that. But before I start getting all philosophical and such, let's take a look at some of the other ways that Hunter x Hunter sets itself apart from other shonen anime. And that is through its story structure. I promise this is going to get more exciting than it sounds. Now, I'd like to take a minute and bear with me here to talk about how Hunter x Hunter structures its arcs. For those not familiar with the concept, an arc is generally how an anime is broken down in terms of major plot events.
Yeah.
For example,
this is one
if
story.
we break down Dragon Ball Z into its 4 major arcs, they would be the Saiyan arc, the Frieza arc, the Cell arc, and the Majin Buu arc.
Yeah.
You could take any of these and break them down further into the 3 sub-arcs: the Peaceful Beginning, the mid-card battle, and the final showdown. The peaceful beginning is just that. It's a peaceful beginning where we see our characters relaxing and usually maybe discussing prior events in the show. And then somewhere within the world of the show, a new danger begins to show itself. The mid-card is usually the longest sub-arc, taking up approximately the second and third quarter of the overall arc, and involves our heroes discovering the new threat, sometimes engaging in a period of training,
what do we do?
And finally we see the lower-tier characters of the show battle in order to clear the way for the final sub-arc,
so they could show
showdown.
How powerful the main
This is where our protagonists overcome impossible odds and defeat whatever threat has emerged in the first place. If you want to see this formula boiled down into a sweet science, then I'd highly recommend checking out Hajime no Ippo, in which the structure is honed down into 3 or 4 episode arcs and masterfully rinsed and repeated in a way that always stays fresh and predictable. But perhaps that's a video for another day. Back to Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter's general approach is to keep the peaceful beginning and mid-card mostly intact, then has a tendency to go completely batshit insane for the main event showdown. I can't tell you how many times I was left completely dumbfounded by Takashi's masterful subversion of my own expectations.
Oh yeah, it would be like out of nowhere.
I really felt like I was being toyed with, being led down one road only to find myself ending up on an entirely different planet. Storylines end abruptly, the landscape of arcs suddenly and dramatically shifts, characters fall in and out of arcs, alliances change, and even the roles of heroes and villains become so blurred you will genuinely be questioning who is the one doing the right thing.
Yeah, you have bad guys joining good guys, it's great.
The first couple of episodes can come across as so pedestrian to a lot of people, as at that point Togashi is still trying to lull the viewer into a false sense of security and familiarity. And it's a shame, because I feel like this undoubtedly causes a certain portion of the audience to drop off before things ever really get moving.
Oh man, you need to stick with it. So
let's examine the first time that Togashi hits us with a major story swerve.
Right, okay.
It takes place in the final stage of the Hunter exam, and serves as the 3rd sub-arc in what you could consider the Hunter exam arc. The main event showdown, as I called it. It comes as a last step before our heroes will be granted the much-coveted Hunter's license. They're gathered in a small hall and told that they will compete in a small one-on-one fighting tournament. Tournament arcs are pretty commonplace in animes. They offer a simple layout that takes care of the mid-card battle and steadily builds heat for the main event showdown. It also gives a lot of the supporting characters some screen time, which in turn allows the writer to explore new relationships in the show. It's worth noting that while some people absolutely loathe tournament arcs, they're actually one of my favourite kind of arcs in anime. I think a well-done one can show off a great range of diverse characters while establishing significant heat for the main event showdown. For 2 great examples of tournament arcs done right, check out the Dark Tournament Saga from Yu Yu Hakusho, or any of the World Martial Arts tournaments from the original Dragon Ball manga.
Or just My Hero Academia.
Hunter x Hunter change up a tournament arc? All signs up until now have led us to believe that this will be a fairly standard 6 to 8 episode sub-arc, with Gon facing off against Hisoka, or maybe at a stretch Killua in the final round. And, mild spoiler alert, this does not happen at all. What does happen is Hunter x Hunter takes the tournament arc and completely turns it on its head. Literally. Oh god, that was bad. Sorry. What I mean by this is, rather than the standard winner stays on tournaments where the winner travels two winners duke it out in the finals, the winner of a fight is actually removed from the tournament and awarded their hunter's license, and by doing so, passing the hunter exam. This leaves the loser to move up the brackets, and so on and so forth until there is one ultimate loser. This person then fails the hunter exam and is the only member of the tournament not awarded the hunter license, and has no choice but to wait and try again in a year's time. Now, there's no way in hell I'm spoiling what occurs here, but suffice to say, the outcome of the tournament, as well as the manner in which it was revealed, completely knocked me on my ass.
It was awesome.
This was actually the moment that forced me to acknowledge that the show I was experiencing was indeed very, very special, and that my initial impression of it had actually been incredibly misguided. And the fact is, this is the first of many times Togashi does this. Throughout your experience with Hunter x Hunter, you'll be bombarded with all manner of twists and turns as Togashi makes us feel comfortable in a situation before completely decimating our expectations, leaving us gasping for breath as we barrel towards the next major plot twist. Trust me, this happens a lot. A conflict will be heavily foreshadowed only to go in a complete opposite direction, or, in some cases, not happen at all. And often these major shifts are completely outside the power of God and his friends, and yet it never feels like Deus Ex Machina thanks to how well Togashi has established the characters and their world. To go into further specifics of this aspect of the show would honestly be to rob you of some of the greatest moments in contemporary anime, but just trust me when I say these are moments that any fan of good fiction deserves to experience.
The Nen system. Okay.
So, and again,
this was clever.
I'm going to have to ask you to bear with me here, but let's talk about one of Hunter x Hunter's most unique aspects, the Nen system. Nen is essentially Hunter x Hunter's version of Ki. You know, like chakra. Power levels, soul pressure, chakra, anime magic that explains how the characters are able to do so much crazy bullshit. But of course, the Hunter x Hunter Nen system differentiates itself in some subtle but critical ways. Namely that Nen is not a direct gauge of a character's power. In other words, a high Nen level doesn't mean that a character is instantly going to win in battle.
No, like you got different, the 6 things, isn't there?
If someone has a high power level in Dragon Ball Z, chances are they're going to completely obliterate someone with even a slightly lower power level. Naruto, Bleach, Fairy Tail, these all operate under the same principle.
Hisoka
and that principle
proves that you don't need to be stronger than your opponent in
number,
the
and the higher that
tower,
number,
doesn't he?
the more likely that character is to succeed in a fight. This approach to combat in anime is highly problematic, especially in terms of long-term pacing, as the only real way for it to proceed is for the villains to have increasingly higher power levels.
You've got to keep making them stronger.
Until the show eventually reaches a point where all logic in the fight becomes mute, and the writer runs out of way to express new levels of power, causing things to just kind of plateau and stop making sense. I would point to the enjoyable but flawed Majin Buu arc in DBZ for this. What's worse about this is that the small-scale creativity and cleverness of earlier fights are often just replaced with repetitive and overly drawn-out battles where two characters essentially stand opposite each other and launch increasingly large-scale attacks. Another author who cracked this problem back in 1989 was Hirohiko Ariaki of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fame. His solution was, rather than focusing on obvious psychic or superhuman powers, such as flight or super strength, Ariaki came up with the idea of stands. Ghost-like figures of psychic energy that watch over their users and all possess unique abilities. What's interesting here is that the actual human characters of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure don't really have superhuman abilities. It's their stands
that have them powers,
The genius of this is that even the most powerful stand user is still just a regular human. While their stand may be the most unholy, invincible killing machine on Earth, the stand user is still vulnerable to all the danger a regular human would be. It usually only takes 1 or 2 major attacks to put a stand user out of commission, the only exception being our Lord and Saviour Dio Brando. This keeps characters from ever becoming invincible, and thus each fight becomes a lot more about the mind games going on between stand users as opposed to who can punch the hardest. This lets fights stay interesting over the course of a long-term series. We don't need every fight to escalate in scope because essentially we're looking at entirely different approaches to combat. For example, a battle involving Jotaro and his high-power close-range stand Star Platinum is always going to play out totally differently than one involving Kakyoin and his long-range Hierophant Green. The influence of Ariaki on Togashi has always been pretty obvious, and it certainly feels like Togashi has taken several cues from JoJo's here, and in doing so, avoids a lot of the problems that come with long-term power level escalation that arguably kept the later conflicts of Yu Yu Hakusho from being as engaging as the earlier encounters. Rather than stands, however, Togashi's solution here is the Nen system, and suffice to say, awesome. It works out pretty fantastically. The point of a lot of anime magic systems is to give the writer some structure when it comes to writing fight scenes. It helps them convey to the viewer a rule set, to bring structure to the superpowered chaos. The best ones allow writers to tell us more about the characters and their actions, while the worst can be confusing, inconsistent, or just make no goddamn sense at all. I'm looking at you, Bleach and Sword Art Online. Togashi introduces
Everyone always has to poop on Sword Art Online at some point, don't they?
and does so right at the point when things are about to get especially combat heavy. I'm guessing he probably wanted to layer some more depth into the fights, which, don't get me wrong, up until now have still been pretty fantastic. But quite simple. Nen is a complicated enough system that I think it's best I only give you the bullet points here. But Nen is the base level anime magic currently within Hunter x Hunter. But where it deviates from other shows is that the mere possession of Nen doesn't mean anything by itself. It's just potential. Having a whole lot of Nen won't make you a badass.
Yeah, you gotta
to get any results from Nen,
what
you
type
need to
of Nen
harness
you
it by
use.
training in one of 6 different areas. And through these areas you learn to control the Nen in several possible different ways, such as either manifesting it into weapons, using it to enhance physical abilities, or even create separate sentient entities to fight for you. What I really love about the Nen system is rather than making every character feel like they have to operate under the same set of rules, it makes everyone feel completely different.
It does.
There's a small amount of overlap, but for the most part, all the powers
so I
and
need to fight like
abilities
this,
of various characters are rooted in the character's personality. Gon's a fun, playful little guy, and this means his Nen manifests itself in various kind of game-related ways. The main one being Gon's rock, paper, scissors attack.
So cool when he learns to do the scissors and paper stuff.
Either rock, paper, or scissors, and if the opponent guesses wrong, they suffer a massive amount of damage. It doesn't get a lot of screen time, but it's a fun and unique little attack, and is rooted deep within Gon's character. Other good examples of this include Uvojin, who loves nothing better than a fight and raise all hell. You can tell by his design and dialogue that he values physical strength above all things.
So good.
So of course he's going to use his Nen to enhance his physical abilities to the point that he's a near unstoppable juggernaut. On the other end of the spectrum we have a character like Melody, who is absolutely not cut out for direct confrontation, and her design lets you know that. And so she chooses to put her Nen into controlling the emotions of those around her. Kurapika is obsessed with capturing and punishing a criminal organization, so her Nen is to manifest chains. Netero, after years of training, develops an invincible karate god-style JoJo style.
Amazing.
There's no end of interesting and weird ways the characters and their abilities tie together. This helps characters feel grounded. There's a certain logic to why they can do the things they do, and turns fights from a rather standard affair to a clash between 2 major personalities, the outcome of which is always extremely difficult to predict.
What a fight that was.
In some ways, it doesn't even matter how powerful you are. If someone has a Nen ability that directly counters yours, you're most likely going to be fucked. Which also brings us to our next major section, the fights.
The fights. Oh, baby.
Watch shonen anime for any length of time and it becomes obvious that the fight sequences serve as the centerpiece to the series. They are the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. And any shonen series wishing to be taken seriously had better have some goddamn amazing fight sequences. Luckily enough then that Hunter x Hunter has some of the most exciting, unpredictable, and well-animated combat sequences that exist within contemporary animation. This is due in part to the Nen system, and in part due to just some really solid writing. Each fighter's personality and will is on display for each fight, and though that may not sound significant, trust me, it is. You see, a lot of the time in shonen anime, the fight starts, the fight pauses, the characters engage in melodramatic conversation,
you're very powerful, so
the fight continues, more melodrama, until finally the fight concludes,
and then
usually with more melodrama. The reason for this is that it's actually quite difficult and costly to insert characters' personalities into a fight scene. In other words, budgetary constraints. As I'm sure many of you are aware, animation, in particular action scenes, tend to cost studios a lot of time and money. Because of this, anime has built up a virtual money-saving playbook of various cheap tricks to save on production time.
Right.
You know, like the fist flurry, the moving so fast I can't see them, the giant laser blast, and my personal favourite, the straight-up plagiarism. And look, I get it, I've worked in animation for a couple of years now, and animation's fucking hard. These studios have to produce an insane volume of work, and I can't really blame them for taking the easy way out
that was
from
a
time to
thing.
time. Except in the case of plagiarism.
Oh my...
Come on, dudes. Don't plagiarize.
God!
Hunter x Hunter overcomes this in 2 ways. The first is the budget, or more accurately, how the budget of Hunter x Hunter
Madhouse, so they seem to have loads of money.
At least not to an outsider like myself.
Their animation's always really high budget.
Hunter x Hunter's 148 episodes looks beautiful. The animation's consistently tight, the backgrounds are lavishly detailed and decorated, and the show is composited in a way that the separate elements always fit together seamlessly. Generally, with a lot of anime, the first 3 episodes will be where the money goes, But the fact that Hunter x Hunter's budget seems to be spread relatively evenly over the course of its 148 episodes genuinely blows my mind. Never is the budget more apparent than in many of the show's beautifully animated and lavishly detailed fight scenes. I mean, look at these things. This is practically feature-quality animation. How Madhouse got the budget to put so much money into what, in the grand scheme of things, is a relatively niche property is completely beyond my understanding.
Well, have you ever seen Afro Samurai?
Holy hell am I glad they did. The second reason the fights stand out might require a little more explanation. But in short, it's Togashi's commitment to the Nen system as well as the personalities of his characters. Each fight, by nature, has to be different, as a lot of the characters in Hunter x Hunter can't fall back on the tropes of super strength. They have to operate within their own spectrum of abilities, and use those abilities creatively in order to get results. This results in some highly personality-driven fighting styles. Like, let's compare Uvojin with Hisoka. Uvojin has turned his body into a rampaging killing machine, and because of this he has no need for tactics. His own behemoth-like strength is all he relies on to take him through fights. Hisoka, on the other hand, takes the complete opposite approach, usually opting to crush his opponent mentally long before he ever inflicts any serious physical damage. Couple this with the fact that Hunter x Hunter has some extremely well-written fight scenes. Each fight has a narrative and a progression. The relationships of the characters are always on display too. We don't need the characters to stop and tell each other how they are feeling because it's obvious from the way they're fighting. Let's take a look at one of my personal favourite fight scenes from the show.
Okay.
Gon vs. Hisoka. This fight comes 33 episodes in and takes about an episode and a half to conclude. Up until this point in the show, the power difference between Gon and Hisoka has been made abundantly clear. Gon stands no real chance against Hisoka. Hisoka outclasses Gon in virtually every category imaginable. The only thing Gon has going for him here is his own determination and the fact that Hisoka will most likely underestimate him. The fight opens with Gon unleashing a barrage of fists and feet on Hisoka, each one in turn being easily countered. Now check out the drawings in this scene.
What you need to also mention
is anger and energy in Gon's face and his movements. He so badly wants to beat Hisoka and prove himself.
Gon has Hisoka's badge. He tries to give him back.
From Hisoka's actions
like 20 episodes prior.
Hisoka, on the other hand, moves nonchalantly
and
from
Hisoka
one
says,
to the next, putting no more effort into a movement.
I won't take that back until you can hit me as hard as I've hit you.
Without any dialogue, the fight instantly sets up where these two characters stand. Gon is the one with everything to prove.
He's really trying.
His excessive movements show his determination, but also his inexperience.
Hisoka's just like,
we can tell from his facial expression not only his extreme dislike of Hisoka at this point, but also his frustration in his inability to land an attack. Hisoka's animation, on the other hand, reads entirely differently. He's not troubled by this fight at all. He has no fear that a loss could occur, and in fact is a little amused by Gon's efforts. When Gon does finally manage to land a clean hit, the fight moves in a very different direction. Hisoka is now forced to recognize Gon as a serious fighter, which triggers a previously established bloodlust within Hisoka, while Gon now must deal with the fact that Hisoka is taking him seriously as an opponent, and he is in some very real danger. Now, let's take that narrative and compare it to one of the fan-favourite fights from Bleach, Ichigo vs. Ulquiorra. This fight comes 266 episodes into Bleach and takes about 6 episodes to conclude. Despite some decent animation and some impressive visual effects, there's actually surprisingly little going on here. Sure, the plot is progressing. Ulquiorra has a second final form, Ichigo is able to reach a new and unheard of power level, and both characters go above the canopy of Los Mundos. But we don't really learn anything new about the characters. Save perhaps a little Bleach lore, which honestly just feels like Tite Kubo makes up as he goes along. Neither Ichigo or Ulquiorra displays any real emotion outside the battle standards of anger and surprise. And likewise, their fighting styles don't really tell us much about them either, aside from the fact that they A. have a sword, B. can fly, and C. can shoot giant lasers. The emotions of the characters are suggested by some choice close-ups, but other than that, the viewer is left out in the cold about how these characters feel about the situation, what their relationship is, or even what's at stake here, aside from the usual of the hero trying to stop the villains doing something really bad. What I'm saying is that fights like this lack personality. It has plot significance, sure, and it does have some cool shots, but essentially it just boils down to Ichigo beating this bad guy, which means he can in turn go fight a bigger bad guy later on. I get that. But if that's all an encounter between two characters is, merely a prelude to a larger encounter, then it's hard not to feel like an opportunity was lost here. Even the narrative and pacing conveyed by the fights is entirely different. Gon vs Hisoka gradually ramps up the tension, leading us down one alley before ruthlessly dragging us down another. We feel Gon's desperation and struggle as he quickly realises how great the power difference is between him and Hisoka. By the end of the encounter, I felt like I knew these characters better. Not through flashbacks or exposition, but through how each character acted and fought.
Yeah.
We learned that Gon has more pride than it initially seemed, and that Hisoka's mercy during the Hunter exam was taken as a huge insult. But we learned that Hisoka, on the other hand, has even less compassion than we originally thought, and though he does care for Gon, it's in an insidious fashion, and he has little actual concern
wants to build
for
him up
Gon's
to break him
physical
down.
well-being. And this, I feel, is the kind of thing that Hunter x Hunter does better than 90% of other anime. We know new things about the characters by the end of the fight. The story doesn't stop or take a break as it does with Ulquiorra vs Ichigo. Each fight tends to be an explosive clash of two characters who have both come to where they are by following their own path. Barely any fight feels contrived, and I never found myself questioning the motives behind a battle. There's some really amazing examples of this later in the show, but I couldn't really get into them without encroaching on some serious spoiler territory. For a far better fight scene within the Bleach universe, you should check out Ichigo vs Zarayaki Kenpachi, which does right just about everything Ichigo vs Ulquiorra does wrong. Ichigo runs the emotional gambit from fear and doubt to believing in his own abilities, and Kenpachi is a charismatic and terrifying opponent whose relentless battle style comes through in every single frame. Okay, I think I've been talking about fights way too long, so let's move on.
Ooh, what's next?
So, before we get to the final section here, I feel it would be hypocritical of me not to mention what I would consider some of Hunter x Hunter's faults.
Oh,
Art
so it was
as
a spelling
concept
mistake,
is
okay.
imperfect, and I feel we can't
like,
truly
what?
appreciate
What's a
something
follet?
without coming to terms with its flaws. The wild twists I mentioned earlier do on occasion cause us to lose out on experiencing a major conflict or situation we would have liked to see play out. It's still a highly unique and interesting way of storytelling, but it can leave us feeling a little disappointed from time to time. There's also moments when things drag on longer than they should, in particular the first two-thirds of the Greed Islands arc.
Yeah.
Particular aspects of the world feel unnecessarily over-explained, with a lot of the show being
Oh no, I
spent
felt
on
like
world
the
building.
Nen thing needed
And while
to
I
be
feel
explained.
this is necessary to make Hunter x Hunter what it is, it's hard not to feel like certain aspects of the show are over-explained. There's a definite point in the Chimera Ant arc where things slow to an absolute fucking crawl, and while I actually really enjoyed this section, I could totally see it putting other people off. The villains, as mentioned previously, are mostly excellent, with the exception of Genthru from the Greed Islands arc.
Oh, the bomber.
Despite having an absolutely mind-blowing final showdown with Gon, his design and personality are disappointingly substandard for the show, and don't leave any kind
Yeah, he's at least memorable.
impact.
To be honest,
And
I kind of
honestly,
forgot about
while
him
I
until...
adore many of the female characters within Hunter x
now.
Hunter, I would have liked to see some more openly female characters among the central cast,
Canary.
especially in the earlier episodes. And that's about it. Seriously, in
there's
the
not much wrong with it.
148 episodes of Hunter x Hunter, these are my only legitimate gripes. And though it may not seem like it from this video, I'm a man who enjoys his gripes.
It does.
So,
oh my god.
Before we call it a day here, there's one more topic I'd like to discuss. This one tends to catch most people by surprise and is the least obvious from the outset, and that is how dark this show gets.
It gets really
now,
dark.
making shows dark or edgy isn't a difficult thing to do. Any 14-year-old with a pirated copy of Microsoft Word can write something dark. That's why it doesn't really carry any water with critics. It's the way it's done that
Oh yeah, it's got to
matters.
be done right.
What's the point the writer is trying to make by giving something a darker tone? So does Hunter x Hunter do a good job of introducing darker themes to the world? Well, by this point in the video you can probably guess my answer, but you can bet your ass it does. As mentioned before, initially Hunter x Hunter seems like a bright and fun kids show about his boy, his fishing rod...
Well, that's what I thought when I first watched it. I was like, oh, this is really
Gon himself seems
bright
like
and colourful and
wellspring of
happy.
positivity and enthusiasm. From the first couple of episodes, it's nearly impossible to predict that the show is going to engage with the topics it does,
Yep.
such as war, genocide, abusive relationships, North Korea. I'm dead fucking serious here.
Yeah.
The later arc takes place in a fictitious version of North Korea.
Yeah, no one's allowed
The series
there.
gets fucking heavy, and I love it for that. It's hard to say if Togashi planned this shift from the beginning or not, but the slide is so gradual that one moment you're watching Gon and Killua be little gay guys forever, and the next you're seeing Togashi make the point that humanity will always survive because we are the most ruthless and fucked species in existence.
Yep.
He's right, by the way. What's interesting here is that Togashi's previous work, The Fantastic Yu Yu Hakusho, follows a very similar arc, and I think this consistency among his work paints a very interesting picture of the guy. Togashi to me seems like someone who's always trying to write for a very general audience, at least from the outset. But it's like he can't help the darker sides of his personality and cynicism bleed into his work. I'm possibly overanalyzing here, but when you look at the rate at which Togashi produces his work, he's obviously not in love with the process, and it can feel like the problems he has with anime and manga as a whole are being voiced through his medium, which, if nothing else, makes for some goddamn compelling writing. Never are these feelings of cynicism more apparent than what I would consider the show's crowning achievement, the infamous Chimera Ant arc. I can remember being on message boards and not long after Hunter x Hunter started airing and hearing fans of the manga talk at length about how there was no way they were going to be able to do the Chimera Ant arc in the anime. That it was simply too dark, too violent, and the content was too disturbing.
Well,
I've always been a fan of shows with the darker tinge, and so it was great curiosity that I approached the Chimera Ant arc. But I also wondered, could the show really get that bleak? Suffice to say, I was excited to find out. Not to get too hyperbolic here, but the arc did not so much meet my expectations as it did surpass them entirely.
Oh my god,
now I could
so
go on
good.
about various different elements within this arc that I feel elevated above nearly all other shonen arcs, such as the chairman's battle with Miriam, absolutely everything about Komogi, the king's character arc. But to me, the defining moment for the Chimera Ant arc, and honestly Hunter x Hunter as a whole, is something that I've dubbed the Reverse Super Saiyan incident. So what do I mean by this? Well, as most people watching this video will be aware, the idea of the Super Saiyan is a convention born from Dragon Ball Z, and can be generalized as a moment within the series when seemingly all hope is lost and our protagonist finds within themselves surprising and new powers that they use to vanquish whatever big bad happens to be around that season. When a regular Super Saiyan trope occurs, it's usually a glorious and celebrated thing. It happens in plain view of everyone, drawing the arc to a glorious close with our heroes celebrating with tears of joy. It's the ultimate proof of good triumphing over evil. Of all the tropes within the shonen genre, this is probably the one that is most consistently used while never really evolving. Only slight variations on the specifics of the character's increase in power and the motives they have for its activation change. And it's usually something to do with wanting to protect one's friends. Yawn.
Yes.
Now, I'm not putting myself above this trope. I like when Natsu achieves the Dragon Flame against Gajeel.
Yeah, that was cool.
I like when Ippo masters the Dempsey roll. I love when Rock Lee drops the weights.
Oh, against Gara.
These moments are outrageous and weird and fun. What I don't like is how some variation of this trope appears in literally 99% of shonen
like everything.
to the point where it's more a plot device than a piece of actual writing. Which is why it's so surprising that 100 episodes into the show this hasn't happened. Gon hasn't received any inspirational burst in power. Sure, he's pulled off some pretty crazy things, but this is only ever through training and planning.
Yeah.
About halfway through the arc, we can tell that something is very wrong with Gon. He shows a level of emotion that's not present for the rest of the show. For the first time, it maybe seems like things are becoming too much for the little guy. The pressure of the situation has begun to affect him in a big way.
Emotions are all over the place.
He encounters entities that are entirely different to him, and ones that he can't relate to or befriend. This eventually culminates in Gon being put in a position of unimaginable tension and pressure. Things build to the point where there is no right thing for Gon to do anymore. And when that happens, he just fucking breaks.
Yeah.
He becomes consumed by his anger and hatred towards the situation that he simply cannot cope with. And this negative emotion pushes him to transform into something entirely different, which has a devastating effect not only on the arc, but also on Gon and those he cares for.
Everybody,
most.
man.
The scene is heartbreaking, done with the kind of emotion that's genuinely hard to watch. And I know it's going to stay with me for a long time.
Hell yes.
I would
it's
genuinely
so
love to go into
hard
more
to
detail
watch
than that, but I feel to do so would be to rob you of one of the greatest moments of contemporary anime. The scene deconstructs every aspect of the Super Saiyan trope as well as the innocent shonen protagonist trope. It shows that everyone has their breaking point, and even the best among us can fall, and how even good people will sacrifice everything for the wrong reason. And this really is the beauty of Hunter x Hunter. I feel it's a show about people at their absolute best and absolute worst. No one ever really sets out to destroy other people for other reasons. People just kind of collide into each other and leave deep, everlasting marks. Gon's overall character arc is unlike anything I'd seen before, and something that's impossible to appreciate for the first 10 or even 20 episodes. I'd say the same about the show itself. It's subtle and unique, and in a way that's not apparent until you're
you need to watch it.
So characters. This show takes investments, but that said, it's completely and utterly worth it. In casting off the conventions of the shonen genre, Hunter x Hunter manages to rise above it and become something entirely its own. It's my hope that it inspires a new generation to re-examine what the shonen genre is capable of, and give the genre a much-needed reason to explore new territory. This, my friends, is why you should watch
we're at the end.
Hunter x Hunter.
Holy crap, we are.
And so, guys, that's about it. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're still watching, holy shit, thank you so much for watching till the end.
That was amazing.
There was actually a ton more I wanted to say, but I think I could probably talk forever about this show, and this video has already gotten insanely long.
Wow.
I've never really done one of these before, but if you'd like to see me do more, or would like me to cover a particular topic, please just let me know.
That didn't feel like a
And if in the
50-minute
meantime you'd like to hear more from me, then you can catch me over at Let's Fight a Boss, a podcast I do with two friends where we cover all manner of anime, video games, movies.
I miss it already. I'm gonna have to watch it again.
It's genuinely pretty cool, so check it out. Link in the description down below. Guys, thanks for watching.
Yo, I can't believe that. Wow, that does. That was just goes to show how good that video was, and how interested I was in that video. Because I genuinely feel like I've only been sat down for like 5 minutes. Oh my god. Oh, Hunter x Hunter, if you've not seen it, it is so good. The characters are amazing. The story is fantastic. It does things differently. Like, I can't express it enough. Like, I'm sad that I've finished it. But there is rumours that there's more manga, which will lead to possibly anime. Which would be so cool, because, yeah, it's weird, because like it ends on a kind of like, not a definitive ending note, but it's a really nice kind of, I'm not gonna, yeah, I'll save spoilers for, I think I'm gonna watch some Moe Gaming's Hunter x Hunter in 49 minutes, because those videos are funny, and now I've seen Hunter x Hunter, I think I'll watch that, and then there will be spoilers in that, obviously, and we can, if you've seen Hunter x Hunter and want to enjoy spoilers, we can laugh about spoilers in that. So that was awesome, Supereyepatchwolf. You always do amazing videos, fantastic, and thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you have not already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys, yes, all of you guys, next time. Bye. And also, the ending theme for ending theme number 1 is like my favourite ending theme, like for anything, because it's just so heavy metal, and if you listen to the full thing, it's got really cool jazzy piano bits and does all sorts of stuff, and that was just something else that I took away from the show that I really liked, on top of how amazing the show was. Anyway, thank you guys. I can't believe I dropped half of my bag of Maltesers while I was watching that as well. That was so distracting. Anyway, bye.